Hi, Daniela.
Hi, Christine. How are you?
I'm good, hanging in there.
Yeah. So it's the end of August, August 31st, right?
Oh my goodness, I can't believe that we start school this week. It's just
hmm
it's been a ride.
Absolutely. And for those of you that have already gone back to school with your kids, congrats. I think hopefully it's going well for you. Definitely, I think we're all in the same place when it comes to, this uncertainty, not knowing if it's going to work, if it's not going to work, how it's going to go, and it creates its own level of stress that I think we took a break from these last couple of months.
Yes, totally. And we were just talking a little bit about, and it segues right into our topic for today about, getting into a routine as part of our self care. And I know we were just talking that we've started to like plan our adjustments. Do you want to share a little bit about what your morning routine is going to start looking like?
Yeah. So when I work, I typically have to get up around 5 in the morning or so, just because one of the habits that I do is I do my workout in the morning. If I don't fit it in the morning before my day starts, it typically gets away from me. That doesn't mean I won't go for a walk later, but my yoga, my Pilates, I have that morning practice, whether it's 10 minutes, 20 minutes, so I typically start my day that way. I also, it's going to sound a little boring probably, but I pretty much have the same breakfast every day. I love egg with avocado and cheese in a wrap. Just
Mm,
because if I had to think about what I was going to eat for breakfast, that would just be another layer of stress for me. There's this thing called decision fatigue that if we have too many decisions to make throughout a day, that it can overwhelm us and stress us out. So if there's ways to kind of build a habit and routine into areas that don't matter so much, for me, I don't care what I eat. So getting up early, fitting in my morning workout, and eating the same breakfast are kind of some of the things that have to come back into my world rather than a later leisurely get up time and coffee and all of that kind of stuff. And that's just one little piece of it. I could bore you and overwhelm you with all the little details. But how about you, Christine? What's your morning like?
I've tried to push it back a little bit, each week so that my kids actually start next week. And so my routine has been the same all summer long. It just started an hour later to get that
hmm
little bit extra sleep. I find that if I get at least 7 hours of sleep, which is another routine of mine, I kind of figure out when I have to wake up and I work backwards to say, okay, this is when I need
hmm
to go to sleep by, because that fatigue happens much quicker for me if I'm tired. But very
hmm
similar, I really try and fill my own cup up first in the morning. So I wake up at 5, and while I'm waking up, I will practice some of that gratitude, and I'll do some of my affirmations and maybe some personal development, and then get my exercise in, get my heart rate going, get my blood flowing, and really get my day started well. And I love the comment about your breakfast being the same, because that's me to a T. And
hmm
I was thinking, as soon as you were saying it, I was like, that's a routine. But a lot of times I think people think when they hear the word routine, or we have too many routines, that it doesn't make us flexible. And I find that when we have routines for the things that are important to us, it actually enables me to be more flexible in other
hmm
areas or times of change, like us going back to school. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. Definitely. And I think some of these things, not just for ourselves, but even for our kids, it helps ground them a little bit to have some of that consistency in those routines where they don't have to overthink things and worry, even when it comes to planning their outfits the night before. I know some people are really, really good about doing it even a week before. Just some of those little habits can help, like you said, streamline it so that when other things can do pop up, it's like, okay, yeah, I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, and I love, the fact that you're bringing up the kid aspect of it, because so often I think parents think, the routine isn't as important when they're young, and
hmm
it's actually the opposite. It is so important. And kids, I see it in my own kids, I see it in my students, they thrive so much on structure and routine. When you think about like when they're going to school and they go to their classes, it's, period by period, it's the same thing over and over again. And they really
Hmm.
thrive from it too. So I think it's a good idea to really start, getting them into the practice of getting into a routine too, because it makes our mornings easier as well.
Oh gosh, yeah.
you
For a
know
while, my son, when he was younger, he kept trying to change his breakfast, and he would like take 20 minutes to eat one pancake, and it would drive me bananas. And I was like, listen, you need to stick with one thing instead of trying to hop around. And then, because it didn't build into his routine that same way.
Right. And we're talking over dinner last night with the kids, and we're like, okay, we're starting a new routine this year, and you guys are going to pack your lunches because you guys always wake up in the morning and change it all around again. So we're putting the responsibility on them. Of course, we're going to help them and walk them through it, but it's going to
Right.
be a habit that will help them feel more independent, free up time for us because it does take time to do it, and allow us to show them again in that model, which I want to talk a little bit about. I think a lot of times, especially when it comes to kids, um, we think that it's going to be so hard, or it has to be like a huge task, like everything all at once. And
Hmm.
the smaller I think we start the routines, the easier it is to be able to sustain them.
Right. Right. Even the basic ones, wash your face, brush your teeth. When my kids were younger, even I would write it with a dry erase marker on their mirror. So they didn't have to worry about remembering the steps. It was just about getting in the habit of following the steps. And so that was a way that kind of helped them check off their morning without me going, come on, you got to do this, 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 this. They didn't have to hear my voice. I didn't nag them. It was just there.
Yeah, which again goes to those benefits of it, because I totally can relate to the, you get into that nagging where the time crunching starts to happen, and you're crushed, then you're ending up doing it for them, and it kind of negates the whole purpose of what you've been trying to do the whole time.
Hmm.
So I love starting with those small steps, picking one thing at a time to see what habit they want to start to create. I love that.
Hmm. And they do stick with them. It's amazing to see, now that my son, he's away at school, he actually still makes his bed every day, which, started when he was younger more because it drove me crazy to walk up the stairs and always see all those unmade beds. But now, he's found it's part of his routine that kind of gets him grounded and going.
I love that book. Have you ever read the book, Make Your Bed?
I have the book. I haven't read the whole thing yet, but it is on our little ottoman. So, yep.
I totally love it, and my son just walked out, and he's the one that actually makes his bed every single day because he's a routine follower, a habit, person like me. He can say hi, say hi. But that book was such an awesome book, and it's really a short read. You can actually listen to the audio YouTube about it too, and it talks about the simplicity of making your bed,
Hmm.
and how it's a simple act, but it is a habit that you can create, and it's also something that if nothing else goes right the rest of the day, you're coming home to
Right.
a made bed, and it
Yep.
goes back to focusing on those really really small those small habits and those small steps.
Yeah, and I think we saw with a lot of kids, especially last spring, they say kids do crave structure and routine, even if it seems like they push back and they rebel and they're not following through. They really do crave it. And I think so many kids saw when they lost that routine and structure of school, how much it truly affected them. And they did crave it like, oh my God, I really want to be back at school. I do miss school. I do want to be there, and
Yeah,
so.
and especially with the inconsistency, we don't know what's going to be happening. I really encourage parents to have, if you haven't started school like us, like start having those conversations, and don't let weeks go by, to say, oh wait, maybe we should start a routine. Start the routine today. Whatever, however
Mhm.
small it is, start with something today, because it's
Even
going to.
if it's starting to wear your mask for an hour at a time, that routine is going to be a new one for me. I'm always running back to my car, like, oh my God, my mask, to get into that habit, because that's a new one, I think, for all of us. I'm like, oh gosh, I have to remember that.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%. I have to start doing that with my kids too, to get them used to it, because we've only kind of done like, 10 minutes at a time, but the reality of it is it's going to be longer. So that's
Hmm.
a great routine for me to practice and start.
Hmm.
start to
So no, I think, if you guys can let us know in the comments or shoot us a direct message, and let us know if there's certain routines that stuck out to you or certain routines that you have that you'd like to share with others. We would love to help promote different routines and kind of life hacks that work for everybody, as well as, like Christine said, start thinking about your mindset then when it comes to these things. Start thinking about what you can do and you can control in your day, so as we lead into looking at what are some of the beliefs that we have and our mindset and our thoughts and how we can build on that.
Yeah, and that's going to lead us into our topic for next week, is more about, the control we have over our thoughts and some of those limiting beliefs and how they impact us. So don't forget to send us some messages or share your comments with us about that so we can answer those questions next week.
Absolutely. So thanks so much, everybody, for joining us, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.